Good day, Ruskin Enjoyers. I hope you're doing alright, 'cause it's time for a Rustore investing review. So, last week I got the first video made for the likes of this format, and it turns out a lot of people appreciated it, got a lot of positive feedback, so of course this is now going to become a weekly thing. So with every Rustore that we see, 4 weeks later, we'll go back to it, see how everything went, what the outcome was, and yeah, did everything turn out alright? Were expectations met? So, of course, let's jump in. Let's now go ahead and take a look at the May 30, 2024 Rustore. So, I'm looking on SCM.app, and that isn't exactly a good look, is it? Quite a lot of those are in the negative. In fact, pretty much every single one of them. But is that what we initially thought? So, if I could just quickly remind myself of the likes of the predictions video that we had for that week. In order of confidence, I had neon small food storage, gold chains, leather gloves, the other deplorables, the weapons, the metal bandana and poncho. Okay, that was a funny thing. I remember what happened with that. Okay, so back over to here, let's discuss. So with the arrival of the neon small food storage, it basically made sense that, okay, looks like we're actually going to get like a proper supplementary collection to add on to the neon storage collection, aka we're going to get a batch of these small boxes. I believed, and I still think, we're going to probably end up between 6 to 10 of these boxes being accepted in total. That, you know, I don't actually know. I'm just guessing. It's all an educated guess, I could say. And with the likes of that so far, kind of getting up to that point, but focusing back to when this first appeared. The arrival of this led to the fuel storage spiking in demand, spiking in price. That went all the way up to $4 at one point. And I know for a fact a lot of us saw that and questioned, would the exact same thing happen to the food storage for every other small box that might follow it? The outcome's a funny one because we know how it went, didn't we? But yeah, with the likes of that, I thought, I'm still a bit cautious. I understand that things can still go a bit funny. With the amount of these that are being bought, especially when I looked at likes of the fuel storage, that was ridiculous. We have not seen sales like that since, well, I mean, cool, the Berserker Cloak Jacket, that was it. That was one of the things I mentioned when I was talking about this. And I did talk about how Berserker Cloak Jacket did drop off quite a fair bit. It was unfortunate, but we had to bring that up because we know, on the horizon, the summer wasn't going to last forever. We were going to go through bad times again eventually. Did I really want to put a lot of money towards the likes of this and hoping that it doesn't drop in value too much? Again, very cautious, but I could still understand in the long term these would still be perfectly fine. It's just acknowledging that things might be a bit iffy, you know, in the short term with the upcoming autumn-fall seasonal dip on the horizon. Yes, it might have been a few months away, but it was still expected to happen. And again, with the amount of sales, would things start to go a bit awry? With a lot of listings potentially in the Steam market? Well, for the very first one at the very least, there was only about 100 to 200 quantity when this appeared, and it all got bought out. It did spike. So, we were still all up in the air at the time, but I always say, I never rush into making an investment. I want to wait it out, and that I did. So, we'll talk more about that when we talk about the abnormals. So, I could also bring up the fact that the gold chains leather gloves were accepted. Now, I was impressed to see it. I honestly believe we're never going to see another pair of leather glove skins ever appearing again. So just to quickly remind all of you, when roadside gloves first were added to the game and then became skinnable, since then we only ever got roadside glove skins. And to our surprise, gold chains got a collection continuation, if you can recall the gold chains poncho. And we had to question, alright, so whilst this is interesting, is it actually going to do a good job retaining its value? Because unfortunately, whilst we can sit here and say, oh wow, look at all these other leather glove skins that got accepted years ago, they're doing so well, you also have to acknowledge that these were accepted years ago, there's only so many of them in circulation, and of course they rose up in price ever so nicely. There's nothing I could really compare this to, because we haven't had a recent one accepted. Best I could do was look at fish gloves, but even then, 3 years ago. So, I didn't want to rush into it. I questioned it, and I thought, you know, as per usual, I want to wait until, you know, Wednesday night, consider what I'm going to do with the abnormal barders. So, yes, that was the second thing that I was fairly confident in. And just to remind all of you, with my predictions video, if you ever look at the likes of my chapters, I put them in order of confidence. So now I'm going to talk about the likes of the deplorables, because, well, as I hop back over to here, with the deplorables, you might have noticed I put a question mark on all of them. Basically, it's nice to see some continuations from collections such as Volcanic, Watcher Doom, a Watcher of Doom, and of course the clan base. But I was well aware with the idea of We've had plenty of deplorable collections accepted up to that point, and so many of them finished at 2 and 3 acceptances, just like no more after that. Don't know why, but it has happened numerous times by that point, and I've started to notice it, and I've started to question, well, looking back at the many other collections that stopped after 2 and 3, they're not performing very well. And I looked at these and I thought, you know what, doesn't matter, so as long as we see continuations, things should work out quite nicely. That evidently didn't really happen, did it? Did for one, but not the others, and yeah, it was a bit of a problem. Now, more specifically with the likes of the Volcanic Furnace here, you know, I look back at the previous furnaces. Back then, I could look at the likes of the polished obsidian, which back then it was still it was in the positive. As you can see here, it's still in the positive. I thought, all right, yeah, maybe that could do a fair bit, like nicely like that. We also had Blackberry Furnace out by then, of course, and this was only slightly below its restore price. I thought, at the very least, maybe it doesn't sell that much potentially. Maybe things could be all right. Maybe it does get more skins produced for it and accepted in the future. There's a lot of nice potential things that could have happened, but did it? You know, was it actually going to happen? As I was rambling about that and thinking about what to do next, we also had the likes of the Bellum Twitch event on the horizon. And evidently, you know, of course, a lot of skins get posted on the workshop. I see them and we'll, you know, showcase them and look at them before the, you know, the actual Twitch event actually takes place. We saw this Carola furnace. I brought it in game, and it's awesome. And I'm sure you know that by now because you've seen it in game. Absolutely fantastic looking furnace skin, and it was being given away for free. Once that became general knowledge that it was coming out, would this have been badly affected? Well, I'll talk more about that when I talk about the abnormals. And with the likes of all these other skins here, the weapons, Black Diamond Thompson was interesting. By then it was like the 3rd skin to be accepted, if I can recall, for the Black Diamond collection. No, it was 4th, okay. But back then, I could still see at that point that, quite, you know, these were down in price by then. Not so badly compared to some of the other weapons, you know, of skins like this and whatnot, but I was fairly confident, alright, yeah, no, it's still probably going to end up exactly the same as these, but I also did acknowledge that, you know, white Thompsons, black Thompsons, they do tend to perform a fair bit better compared to other Thompsons. But, you know, you had to be cautious still. You had to question everything, so didn't rush into it, of course. Nocturnal Beast looked awesome, but I did question it because, of course, AK-47 skins in general, do they turn out to be nice investments? Well, you know, with what we see here was basically the exact same thing what we saw last month, so I, you know, kept an eye on it. But I wanted to see if continuations were to be produced and accepted. They were produced, but were they accepted? And then Sweet Dreams evidently was turning into a collection, very bright and colourful. I saw many skins being submitted, but we finally saw the likes of the custom SMG being accepted. But I was well aware that, you know, custom SMG skins, when you look at all of them, yeah, it was pretty obvious it wasn't going to be retaining its value. And I remember this, yep. So it was like 2 weeks before this restore, Face Punch put out word that they wanted to increase the level of quality of skins that were submitted to the workshop. And then they accepted these two. And you might sit there and say, oh, but maybe it's because nobody put out any bandanas or ponchos back then. Oh, yes, they did. And these were accepted. And we weren't exactly very happy about that, because Face Punch was putting out a particular idea or motion to improve quality of skins, and then they went and accepted these. I did not have a lot of faith in them. Yes, continuations would have been nice, but I didn't have a lot of faith. So that's all the initial thoughts. You could go back and look at the likes of the predictions video if you so wish, but you probably got the idea. You probably understand. So, as I said, back then we were well aware that Twitch drops were starting to appear, and I was showcasing them off and sharing them with people and whatnot. It got to the point where it was the abnormals. Awesome. Right then. So, I have the prices saved over here. Let's discuss this real quickly. So, if I could go back to the likes of the Rust store, when I looked at the likes of the Neon Small Food Storage, I acknowledged that, yeah, okay, that was selling just as much almost compared to the likes of the Fuel Storage. Would just a few thousand less sales, or rather subscribers compared to the Fuel, make that much of a difference? I was questioning it. I was still unsure. I looked at the likes of what had appeared over the workshop, you know, over the weekend. We saw a med storage. Oh, will that be accepted as well? I was confident it was going to happen. But I just didn't know what the behaviour of this was going to be like. You could look at it and think, oh yeah, no, in the long term it'll be alright, it'll be fine. But I was concerned about, if I want to be smart with the Steam wallet that I have, maybe I might want to wait it out, see if these do dip down below the Rustore price. Could that have been potentially the right thing to do? So my buy order prices for the likes of the Neon Small Food Storage, I suggested potentially just sticking with $1, because potentially, you know, around October time, that might drop off pretty badly. There's so many of these that were bought that maybe, just maybe, when, you know, player counts do drop off around the October time, maybe a lot more of these would be listed on the Steam market, prices would suffer and it would go down to around $1. That was my expectation. It was something that evidently started to brew stronger and stronger with every one of these small boxes being submitted and accepted. But yeah, $1 to $1.35 if you were feeling, yeah, I think I just want to stick with the long term, you know, try and pick these up when they're at their lowest point in a few months' time. Stick with $1. But if you felt confident, you thought, yeah, no, we're going to see the exact same behaviour with this based on what we saw with the likes of fuel storage after the food storage was accepted. I offer up to $1.35 if you really wanted to. Try and grab these for about 15 cents cheaper. So moving on, the Volcanic Furnace did end up selling quite a lot. Volcanic Furnace, I thought maybe it might not sell too much, maybe it'll be alright. No, it did over 20,000 subscribers. So looking at that, and knowing what was on the horizon, you know, I was like, yeah, I don't think that's going to be doing a very good job retaining its value. I hope to see more continuations appearing, which I believe didn't really happen. Let's go over to here. There was a hammer. Yeah, there was a sleeper bag and a hammer. That was it. And, of course, not accepted. Awkward. Anyway, so I had no faith in that. I actually sat here and said, you know what? I'm at best probably only going to offer between 50 cents to 70 cents. I just didn't think it was going to work out very well. And, well, I mean, it only went down by 20%, but you get the idea. Anyway, I then moved on to the likes of the Watcher of Doom garage door. I looked at it. I knew that there was a brand new submission with the likes of the large box being submitted. So if I go back over to the past, you can see that that was submitted. And, ooh, what happened? Well, so I was like, okay, maybe things could work out quite all right for it. But I do acknowledge that maybe there's going to be some very interesting garage doors appearing, of course, for the remainder of the year. There are going to be more Twitch drops and whatnot as well, so you also had to take that into consideration, because, you know, just the week before we saw the likes of that appearing for free. I thought to myself, and I went, yeah, all right then, maybe I could do $1 to $1.50. I get the feeling we potentially will be seeing more garage doors in the future. That'll be very nice, but with more continuations appearing, we could probably still dip our toe and go a little bit stronger. You could push up to the likes of $1.50. So, well, we'll be talking more about that in a second, won't we? Black Diamond Thompson, again, that's the point where I was like, yeah, it doesn't really look like it sold that much. And I did remember the likes of the Pirate Thompson, the Blackout Thompson. They worked out ever so nicely. And, of course, they've been doing very well for themselves throughout all the likes of the summer. So that's up to $3.60 at the moment. Cybercode Thompson also was doing very nicely back then as well, over its Rustore price. And, of course, the Blackout Thompson, which is currently sitting here at $5.60. I'm pretty sure it was around the same price back then. So, yeah, I thought, okay, maybe it will still dip in price. It's new. It's had a reasonable amount of sales. More people will feel obliged to want to list it on the Steam market. I probably only want to do between the likes of $1.50 to $2. Rarely do we ever see a Thompson go down to all the way down to around $1. And with this being a Black Diamond skin, which sold for a fairly premium price, I thought, yeah, I mean, these did fairly okay not to go all the way down and, you know, crash and burn. So maybe this might not, you know, maybe this would kind of emulate these. So $1.50 to $2 is how I went about it. I was reasonably hopeful for it. We'll talk more about that in a bit, of course. Nocturnal Beast AR, if I can recall, we did see the likes of a continuation appear. Or was Diaz juggling everything? Yes, he was juggling. Yeah, he randomly put out the high quality metal. No, back. It's here. Sorry. No, this is what happened. I was like, cool. I'd like to see a continuation with that. And then he randomly brings back his Neon Vibes large wood box. I wasn't upset by that because I was hoping to see something like that appear. But yeah, anyway, back over to here. We didn't see a continuation appear immediately. I felt concerned. I felt worried. I thought, you know what? I'm not as confident in it as I was. It sold a reasonable amount, but even then, around 15,000 subscribers is still quite a lot. And, you know, don't be surprised if you see a whole bunch of them on the Steam market. I suggested just only stick with the likes of 80 cents to $1.10. You know? So, we'll be talking about that in a bit. Gold chains, leather gloves. I was confident in it to a point when I first saw it. I thought maybe it might hold up, maybe it'll do a fair bit better. I was under the impression that Gold Chains Collection was going to still keep putting out interesting potential primitive skins. If it got gloves accepted, well, maybe they'll do like burlap wraps and shoes. Maybe they'll do hide clothing or something. Now, what happened is they started to do like an orange tiger design. Like they redid a poncho for it, which confused me. And yeah, because this was like a late acceptance, if I could recall. No, it was like a typical pick. So if I go back over to here, we saw the skirt. Oh, this was okay. This was submitted. Anyway, I felt like the skirt probably had a decent chance. It looks silly, it looks goofy, but you know, look at the gloves, look at the poncho. So I was wrong to bring up the likes of the redone poncho and whatnot. But anyway, another primitive skin was submitted. I thought, okay, maybe that actually will work out quite alright. I will do the likes of $1.20 to $1.80. Oh, mate. Oh, dear, oh, dear. We'll talk more about that in a bit, won't we? Anyway, with that, I felt like it might have done better, but, well, we'll move on. We'll talk about that in a bit, won't we? Clan-based large box. I looked at that. I know Kizaru was going back and redoing and resubmitting some of his clan-based skins. He redid his clan-based Metal Door, for example. If I could go a little bit further back, when we saw the large box being accepted, yeah, it was the Sheep Metal Door, because that was like that took a while. So anyway, that appeared. I thought, yeah, maybe this might be Kizaru's time. Maybe we'll see an actual collection develop out of this. What happened might not have been the case, but we'll talk more about that in a bit. So I actually sat there and said $1 to $1.50. Oof, yeah, that's a funny thing. Yeah, if you're smart, if you're keeping an eye on the barders, if you're keeping an eye on the price of skins, you probably potentially did remove your barter, but we'll talk more about that in a bit. Sweet Dreams, Custom SMG. I acknowledge that Custom SMGs rarely do good to retain their value. I fully expected it potentially goes down, potentially worse once we reach the September, October, November months. I went with 80 cents to $1.10. And then the metal primitive clothing. Now, when these were accepted, the following weekend, we did see continuations being submitted. Yeah, we saw the likes of metal hide shirt and pants. Now, evidently, they weren't accepted. Shrug. But, yeah, you still had to respect that if they were to be accepted, you know, we'll still see the spike demand, spike in price. But I just didn't think people were going to be actively going crazy for the likes of that. So the likes of those two, I only suggested doing 50 cents to 70 cents on those buy orders. Yep. So yeah, I feel like we can now move on to the outcome, how everything turned out, and, you know, you might have seen my reaction as I looked at some of these skins with the barter prices. So, as I have said in the past, right, if you do two buy orders for two separate accounts when the abnormals, you know, appear and whatnot, you can do a safe lowball buy order, safe lowball buy order, and your second buy order could be stronger. Maybe you don't request so much quantity and whatnot. You're more likely going to end up buying some of these skins if you put down a stronger buy order. But evidently, if the prices drop pretty hard, you might get dumped on. So, with the likes of Neon small food storage, this kind of developed into a problem. For you see, yeah, when this was accepted, the fuel storage did spike in spike in price, went up ever so nice, but food didn't. And after a good few days, evidently, a ton of these ended up appearing on the Steam market. So much so that it got to a point where I was getting really concerned for it, and I actually made a video over here, Neon Small Boxes, Momentum and Future. Because it really dawned on me that I think far too many people have bought these with the pure intent to sell, which of course isn't too ridiculous. But it got to a point where just a few days in, the amount of quantity on the Steam market for the food storage was matching up to fuel. And fuel sold more. I was like, oh no, okay, well this has kind of changed my perspective a bit. And yeah, I actually did end up buying some of these. I must have bought about 10 with my like $1.20 something buy order. I did around $1.30, but not all the way up to it. So yeah, I actually removed that. Now, I'm not concerned. At the end of the day, I did buy a bunch of these for a cheaper price than what they sold for in the Rust store. I'll hold on to them for a year or two. I can afford that, and I'm sure I'll be able to flip them for a decent profit still. But yeah, I got concerned. And now with the following Rust store investing, you know, review videos that we'll be doing over the course of these next few weeks, you're going to hear me ranting about the small boxes. Hey, I mean, you should have understood that by now. So yeah, that developed to become a bit of a problem. And yeah, these small boxes have dipped below their rust or price. We have seen several, at least 3 of these at one point in the negative. That being meds, food, and comps. And potentially all of them will be like that around October time, because October time typically ends up being the point where many skins will be at their lowest potential point for the year. Perfect time to jump in and buy into those skins. As I said earlier, I was questioning things. I thought, well, if I don't want to go all in with a strong barter, maybe I might end up just waiting to see how cheap they get and then jump in and attack. And yes, that is the smart way to go about it. You can watch a recent video that I submitted, uploaded. Rust skins affected by the autumn fall seasonal dip, examples and explanation. Consider giving that a good watch just to understand the situation and how you can go about it. But yeah, it's a routine thing that happens every single year. Don't be too alarmed, don't be too scared. But do be concerned about those small boxes. Oh yeah. Maybe I might need to do another video talking about that, because with the follow-up with what we've seen and whatnot, yeah, maybe, we'll see. Anyway, Volcanic Furnace. Yeah, you dipped down in price. Yeah, you sold it quite a bit. But do you know what? It actually didn't do too bad. You know what? I have to give it some credit. I was kind of panicky for it. I thought, yeah, Twitch drops kind of outclassed it a fair bit. Not to sound mean, but, you know, it was also for free. But no, there's 100 quantity. Now, yeah, okay, look, there's a 33 quantity there. Whoever's doing that ain't helping it. Other people, but it's not down that bad. But the bilders are still only around 70 cents. And what's the price? Oh, yeah, just sloping downwards. That's going to get to a brand new low point around October for sure. How low will it go? Well, probably 70 cents. So yeah, okay. Whilst it didn't go down super bad, it's still trending downwards, and it very likely will end up at that point. Moving on. Watcher Doom Garage Door. Now, to our surprise, with the next Rust Door rotation, we actually did see that large box being accepted immediately. So that Garage Door actually spiked in price. It went up to like $3.50 at one point? $4? It didn't last though, so if I quickly go look at this in the Steam market now, you can clearly see that it is below its Rust Door price. And if you did try and do a barter of $1.50, hey, at the end of the day, you could look at this now and probably pull out if you're not feeling confident in it. The skin creators did produce more skins, but they weren't accepted. Now, they can always go back to it and produce more. This did end up getting free skins accepted, didn't it? But, you know, October, just around the corner, things could get a little bit awry, you know, oh dear. But yeah, it did go up quite highly initially. At one point, selling for about $5. Wow. But it did drop off. So yeah, whilst there was the initial hype, that didn't last. And, well, yeah, cool. So if you did do those barter prices, it would have been okay. And, well, as I said, if you have a stronger barter, if you keep an eye on the prices, you should acknowledge that when things get a bit iffy, you remove your barter. I did do that with the food storage. You can do that with everything else if you do 2 bilders. Or, you know, on one account, if things get, you know, a little bit too close with like your barter and you really do feel like it's still going to get cheaper, just remove your barter and put down it again, you know, at a lower point. Right, okay, Black Diamond Thompson. I thought, alright, maybe you might do a bit better, maybe you might retain your value and whatnot. Well, you went down pretty quick, and there's not many of you on the Steam market, which is also weird. So if Steam would work with me, we could actually take a look at the Steam market. There you go, perfect. So yeah, that's now sitting here at about $2.20, and well, the bilders are still around $2. Maybe it just stays there, you know? Maybe these bilders hold it up, and maybe around post-Christmas it works out ever so nicely. But there's only 63 listings, which of course is below average. Most Rust skins on the Steam market typically have around 100 quantity. So yeah, I mean, it's thin. I'm not seeing massive quantities. Maybe it still is perfectly fine. Maybe $2 genuinely is going to be the lowest point it sells at, which in theory actually would be a good thing, because you'll pick them up at their lowest prices that they've sold for. In the future, if they do rise up in price, you'll be flipping them for an ever so nice profit, and potentially they'll probably never go down to that point ever again. That's a nice way of going about it. Will it actually happen? We'll see. So that actually might probably okay. It's up to you again, you know, if you ain't got that much, you know, Steam wallet, that might be a bit of a concern. But I don't think I was really wrong with that one. Nocturnal Beast AR, yes, we did have more continuations being submitted, but they were never accepted, and this did actually go down to $1 at one point, and then randomly someone bought out a chunk of them. What do you mean? Well, basically, if you go see on the Steam market, yeah, someone jumped in, someone bought out 74 from the Steam market at one point. Not sure what's going on. but it happened. So whilst it is going down to about 90 cents, it just went back up to about $1.30. So, I mean, if something's going on with that, keep an eye out. All right, if you own some, keep an eye out. But yeah, my suggestion with the price, it did go below that still. AKs are not reliable investments, and this is definitely a perfect example of such a thing. Gold chains, leather gloves. I did do a buy order of around $1.70 to $1.80, and evidently you should know that yes, I did remove my buy order. I was very surprised. I thought this would still do a fairly decent job of retaining its value, but yeah, looking back at that buy order price, which I completely forgot about, even I was surprised by that. But hey, back then, my thoughts must have felt like, yeah, no, surely Face Punch will accept another goofy gold chains collection skin. Everything will be fine. We'll see more of this doing well. Again, I was very surprised to see the leather gloves were even accepted at that point. So, split my hands up. I do believe I was wrong with this one. I'll accept that. Will this keep going down? Well, we got this 85 quantity $1.61 barter right there. If that guy wants to just absorb all of these, he's more than welcome to do so. But again, not that many listings. And how many of these sold today? Only 18. But it is trending downward still. It's pretty steep. But how low will it go? Maybe it might be that $1.60 point. We'll see. We'll see. But yeah, haven't seen any more of these being accepted. As I did mention a little bit earlier, it does get a bit weird. So, you know, another poncho for a collection that already had a poncho accepted, and it went to hoodie and pants and boots, and yeah, I don't know what's happening with that. I can't answer for the skin creators. Clan-based large box. So I suggested $1 to $1.50. Yeah, it went below that. Again, skin creator tried, but this was another deplorable collection that ended at 2. Which is sad, you know. And we did see more large box skins being accepted, of course. So if I quickly hop over to here, take a look, you'll see for yourself. Of course, we did see the likes of, if we could see that. There we go. We saw the Watcher of Doom appearing literally the very next week. And evidently, with the Twitch drops, lo and behold, we got a generic drop. So it wouldn't have surprised me. The likes of this appearing would have affected that as well, and people just didn't feel the need to own these, so they sold them on the Steam market, maybe for a loss. Yeah, because again, Twitch drops, they do affect skins. You've been warned. Keep an eye out. Sweet Dreams, Custom SMG, how you doing? Well, not well, but that was expected. We knew that was going to happen. So yeah, if you did a 80 cents to $1.10 buy order, good stuff. Yeah, you know, get a good look at that. Not that many listings. Nice and colourful. I do hope to see more of this collection, because a lot of skins were submitted for Sweet Dreams. I honestly thought this potentially could have been a nice collection. The AK is still doing fairly okay, only down by 10%, which is rare for an AK, but they just aren't being accepted, and I don't know. I don't know why. I'm confused. Well, what are you going to do? Yeah, not surprised to see how those turned out. Like, you know, the attempt was made, so fair enough to GPG, but yeah, these just don't have the interest, and the buy orders just aren't really going very close, and yeah, it's just awkward. 70-cent buy order there. Is that me? I might need to go double check. I don't think it's me. I think I went pretty low. I think I only went about 50 cents. Right then, so yeah, across the board, well, I wasn't initially confident when I first saw all of them. I was interested to see how neon storages were going to turn out. Evidently, a bit iffy, a bit awkward. And yeah, gold chains, leather gloves. Whilst you were a skin for something that hadn't had a skin for 3 years, you still dropped off. So, yeah, I mean, that's just the behaviour of people at the moment. Give it time. Will that still end up in the positive at some point? Probably, but, yeah, maybe we've got to wait another 3 years. So, yeah, this was a Rust store. That was the last Rust store of the month. It was expected that we're probably going to see something, you know, kind of calm, tame, not too ridiculous, but at least we saw some interesting continuations. So, yeah. Overall, this Rust store wasn't as interesting compared to the previous one, but with, you know, the week that followed, it was June 4th swipe. It was technically the beginning of the summer. We're very hyped up for that. And yeah, things were pretty different with the likes of this one. So that'll be next week's video. We'll be discussing all of those skins, and evidently all of these went in the negative as well, so yeah. But that'll be the talking point for next week, so yeah. Feel free to comment below. Did you make any profits or losses with the skin so far? Or more specifically, because, you know, it's only been like a month. You probably haven't sold anything yet. Have you kept your buy orders? Have you removed any buy orders? That's an interesting thing that I'd like to find out about. So yeah, I hope these videos are nice and insightful, but yeah, in conclusion, May 30, 2024 didn't really work out to being a very nice thing to jump into, but with smart buy orders, I think we have kind of walked away at least with potentially a profit. So right now, while some of these might be suffering, what are they going to look like around post-Christmas, January 2025 time? What are they going to look like during the likes of October? Oh dear. Think about what's more closer rather than what's on the horizon, Hedge. But yeah, I mean, I kind of expected that some of these just weren't going to retain retain value. Some of these were just going to stop here. No more collection continuations for deplorables, blah, blah, blah. Yep, you get the idea. Right, so yeah, that's everything. Thank you very much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. And yeah, catch you later. See you and goodbye.